Alright, hello, this is the RPG Pundit, the final boss in Internet Shitlords. And my phone is not, it's a little bit precariously perched. Got a new stand courtesy of a very kind donation, but okay, I guess that's alright. Alright, so today, back a bit, there we go. Today I'm going to talk to you about something a little different, and it's that I've had, for some reason, maybe, I don't know, it's the time of the season or something, I don't know why, maybe it's something that someone mentioned somewhere. I've had several people all at once contact me privately, right, either on, private message on Twitter or on the RPG site or on Mewe or, in other contexts, asking me how, what would be the way, what's the path to make a living in RPGs, right? You guys know that I'm one of a very small number of people who does not work for Wizards or Paizo or something, or Steve Jackson Games or something like that. So I'm not one of these wage slaves that's typing at 1 cent a word or something like that, what you're being told to write. And I'm also not some kind of a freelancer, because I know that freelancers don't make any money anyway. But I'm actually an independent producer of games, writer of games that is making a living off of gaming. Now, gaming isn't my only stream of income, but it is by far the largest at this point. And basically, it's my main profession for work. I have other pursuits for other things, but it's and the amount I'm earning, which continues to grow to my astonishment every single month, pretty much it has for the last while. Maybe it'll start to level out now. I don't know, maybe, but so far it hasn't really. It's been slowly gaining every month, and that's lovely. It's a very very much enough that, contrary to what happened for me for many years in the past, I can be safely covering all of my necessities and having more money left over after that at the end of each month, right? So this is, to me, I'm a person of simple needs. I'm not a high spending person. I live a bit of a monastic lifestyle almost, right? My biggest probably luxury that I spend money on is tobacco. I don't even buy a lot of pipes anymore, so there's not even pipes. And I don't own a car, I don't have kids, so I don't have some big expenses that other people might have. But gaming let me buy my own house, and it's made it so that I'm living here where I am in Uruguay. I would say I'm living a very comfortable middle class lifestyle. Besides the fact that here most of the middle class is up to their noses in debt, and I have no debt at all. So there is that, right? So anyways, a bunch of people asked me, and I figured I'd better try my best to tell you what to do, right? And obviously, part of the issue here is that there would be one simple answer, which is be the RPG pundit, right? If you're the RPG pundit, you can pull this off, right? But that's not a very helpful answer to other people, because I do think the fact that I am who I am, that I had my blog, that I did the RPG site, all those things, it was a long-term. Before I even wrote my first game, it gave me a long-term fame / notoriety that made me a name. And I think one of the examples of where that is very clearly to my advantage is that, for example, I don't have to self-publish, right? So one of the things I would advise to people is become a self-publisher, right? But I don't need to do that because I'm the RPG pundit. Right, so people know that my books are going to sell, which means I don't have to go to the effort. There are people out there that like the publishing side of things. They like putting together a pretty book and putting the pictures in and figuring out the layout and knowing how to use Adobe or whatever you use for. I don't even know what you use for it, right? I just like to type I like to type on a word processor, get that doc file, send it to some other guy who's going to do all that work for me, right? And I'm still getting a majority of the winnings, right? So, but you can't normally do that, right? Like you can probably find someone to publish for you, but if you're not the RPG Pundit, if you've never had any books published before, you're probably not going to be able to. And even if you have, you're probably going to be offered very, very shitty deals, you know. Whereas, you know, nowadays I would never take a book publisher for less than a 50-50 split, you know. Like 50-50 split is the absolute limit of what I'm willing to give the publisher for my book. And we both make out like bandits anyways, right? I think we're doing very well, so it's fair. But, you know, that's something that you can't do. But what can you do? Because there's a lot of things I did besides being a notorious asshole that helped me along the way. Okay? So, number one, on a list of I don't know how many numbers, I would say number one is make consistently good gaming products. Make stuff that people actually want to play. And that way you get fans, right? So you have to first learn how to be a good game designer. And I think I did another video months and months back. Go look in the archive of my videos. And if I'm wrong, then tell me so. But I think I did one about how to be a good game designer. And this is an important point, because a lot of the people that have come to me for like consulting work, who are people that are like, I've never done an RPG before, I want to do this RPG, and this is my dream of it, and I'm pretty convinced I'm going to get rich. I take one look at it, you are not going to get rich. And I'm also aware that this person doesn't know enough about RPGs and about RPG design. Right? So as prelude to being able to make a living off RPGs, you have to familiarize yourself with the industry in the same way that it would be anything else, right? Like if you were a tax accountant, you'd have to know about how to formulate taxes, and you'd also have to know about the tax accountant industry, right? Like how to set yourself up, right? Where are the customers, right? Where to put your office, right? How to advertise, you know, that's all stuff you're going to have to learn too, right? So, but in terms of game, you have to know how to make a game of some kind, and then you also have to know that, you know, the game that you might like, unless you're very lucky, the game you might like might not be the game that's going to sell well. So you right away have to do a choice, right? And I mean, maybe some people here want to be game designers that just make the game that they want, and that's it. They put it out there as a gift to the world, and if they make a bit of money, that's great. And maybe you'll get really lucky and your weirdo game will actually sell well, but that's 1 in a million shot, right? The luckiest situation, if you're a person like me, if you like D&D and you want to make games that are basically based off D&D, right? In which case, you make OSR games, and you've won, right? Because the OSR is the best place to make a game right now in terms of the likelihood that your game will make you at least some money. Because it has a huge audience, because all the products are compatible with each other, because it has a whole community that you can advertise in, right? So one of the things I've noted is sometimes that people will come to me with a game that is basically what was called a fantasy heartbreaker, right? It's a game that could be D&D. Like, check out my Exiled in Eris review, which is just, 2 videos ago, I think. And that's a perfect example of a game that if that game was presented to me today and I was a consultant, I would say, what are you doing, right? This game is practically an OSR game. So make it an OSR game if you care about making money, right? Just pick the innovations that you want to add. An OSR game can have a lot of innovations. There are some it can't have, but there's a lot it can. Lion and Dragon proves that you can have it. Lion and Dragon proves that you can have those innovations without even, without even keeping the spell system. It doesn't have the spell system. It changes the way experience works, right? It changes how leveling works. And so it doesn't mean you have to make a clone. You make an OSR game, that's your best bet. Now, if you don't like making an OSR game, you kind of have to decide, what are you going to do? And how important is money versus your creative freedom, right? So number 2, my second piece of advice, be consistently anti-censorship, even for people you don't like, right? And this doesn't sound like business advice. This sounds a little bit like ideological advice, right? But in point of fact, this is business advice, right? Now I'm saying, let's say even people you don't like, you don't have to endorse them, but you have to defend their right to speak and not be blacklisted or canceled, right? And if you do this, you're going to be dumped on by the SJWs, by the totalitarians, right? And if you do this, those people will hate you, but they don't game very much. They hardly buy games and they almost never play games, right? And regular gamers do. So regular gamers are going to be loyal to you. And beyond that, if you are consistent in that defense, you're going to have other game designers that are going to be consistent in defending you when your turn comes, right? If you're inconsistent about censorship as an issue, you're not going to have that level of protection of having other people that will stand up for you, because you'll be seen as neither cold nor hot, so you'll be spat out. Rule number 3, develop a presence. And so you've got to, it's not enough to write games. There is a side of something you have to do, which is to have a personality, so to say. And that personality, you can manifest it on Twitter, you can manifest it on YouTube, you can manifest it on Mewe or Parler and any of the other Twitter clones. You can put it on Facebook if you want. You can put it in forums. But you have to do something that'll make you stand out over other people in some way, right? So the easiest way is probably to do a Twitter or a live streaming Twitch, or if you want to go the I don't even know how to call it. If you want to go the spicy way, you could do what Grimace done and have an OnlyFans account, So you have to have those things and you have to use them. You have to do stuff, say stuff that is going to draw in attention. And part of that is talking about gaming or running games that are interesting, or talking about the state of the industry and promoting those things so that then people will pay attention to you. And as they pay attention to you, you talk about your games, right, and your stuff. It takes a lot of time, requires a lot of consistent effort, right? But it is something that definitely works. I mean, for me, I was already doing okay before I started this YouTube channel. But this YouTube channel has undoubtedly helped my sales, because at the end of every video, I say, hey, if you want to support me and you want to support what I'm doing, then you can just send me money to PayPal or to Patreon. But what I would recommend is you buy my books, right? And you can pick up, Lion and Dragon, Old School Companion, Star Adventure, Dark Albion, Cult of Chaos. You can get all of those at drive-thru, some of them at Amazon, Arrows of Indra. You can get at Amazon. And they're all relatively inexpensive, and they're going to be stuff you're going to really like. But you can also get my RPG Pundit Presents PDF series. If you don't think you can spend, I think Lion and Dragon, the hardcover, costs $23. But if you don't have $23, if you only have $4 or $3 or $2, you can pick up one of my RPG Pundit Presents PDFs. There's 104 of them. So you can get one of those, and it's giving you something, but that you can use in your games. But it's also like you're buying me a coffee or something like that. It's giving me some support. And every time I say all that, and usually at the end of the video, today I've said it in the middle of the video because I mean it. Please support me. It's really a great way to help me and to encourage me, and you're going to get stuff out of it. I'm not asking for you to donate money, though. Anyone who just wants to donate money via PayPal or Patreon, I'm very, very grateful. My Patreons have been increasing lately. Maybe from people that have bought every single book I've made, and they can't buy any more books, so they want to keep supporting me. Then they did a Patreon thing. But you're also, I'm telling you mainly to pick up my games and to play my games because you're going to enjoy them, right? And you're going to become a fan of mine, and then you're going to get more of my games because you're going to really like what I do, right? So this is a self-evident thing. And every time I do this in a video, I can, in the cases of those publishers who have, as part of our deal, let me track sales, I've discovered that there have been notable increases in sales after every video is posted. For the first 24 hours, there's a big boost. And that's people who watch the video who say, oh, yeah, I like this, and I'm going to support him. I'm going to get the newest more medieval authentic secret societies. RPGPundit presents 104. Oh, that's new. I don't have it yet. Let's get that one. Or you know what? I've been waiting to get World of the Last Sun. RPGPundit still hasn't got it in his mail, and now at this point it should be like a party game for everyone to see how many of you bastards can get it shipped to your house before I finally get my copy. That I've been waiting for since December, but the Uruguayan mail has been just useless with. So, but anyways, that's the idea, right? It takes a lot of work. It takes a lot of effort, but it is a huge part of boosting. If you have fans and you have a community of fans, in the sense of having a persona that they can connect to, and you don't have to be an asshole necessarily. There are some people that do this being a nice guy. There are some people that do this being a funny guy. There are some people that do this being a trendy guy. I happen to do it by being kind of the mean the mean guy of gaming, right? And with a little touch of also being the kind of serious guy talking about some deep metaphysical subjects from time to time, because that's also my deal. But you find your own way to do it. I mean, I'm not saying go be a copy of the RPG Pundit, because you can't and you'll probably suck, But do your own thing and you'll find your way, So next piece of advice is be uncancelable, okay? People will come after you at some point, sooner or later. If you don't join the SJW movement, they're going to come after you sooner. But if you join the SJW movement, they're going to find a way to come after you later. They've been, this last few weeks have proven that. They've been absolutely devouring themselves over and over again, So you need to make sure, first of all, you also need to make sure, because the hobby is a varied thing, and because it will definitely, whatever you do, it'll definitely take time. If you ever get to be self-sufficient with gaming alone, it's going to take a lot of time for that to happen, right? So you want to have multiple streams of income. You want your work to either self-publish it yourself or do it through multiple publishers, right? Don't put all your eggs in one basket. You will notice that I have several games that have been published by several different publishers. And for example, my next game, the Invisible College, is going to be published by a different publisher, by the Occult Detective, than my current stuff like Star Adventure, which was published by Spectre Press, or Lion and Dragon, which was published by Dawn Publishing, right? So I've got multiple different publishers that are there in case of something happening, right? Make sure your stuff, if at all possible, sells in multiple places. That's sometimes hard, because obviously right now there's only really one big hub for publishing in RPGs, and that's DriveThruRPG. There's also Lulu, there's also Amazon, and as much as possible I try to make sure that my games are there too. That depends, in my case, a bit on my publishers. If I was a self-publisher, I would always try to do that. I would always have the variety. But different publishers have different agendas, and so there we are, right? And make sure you have multiple social media places your fans can follow you in. If you click on the description and the link of this video, you're going to see at the very bottom of the long description with a lot of links. Most of those links are, corporate links, I guess you could say. But some of them are to my accounts. They're not to my books, but rather to my accounts. And you'll see where I am on Mewe, on Minds, on Twitter, on my BitChute channel in case YouTube decides to ban me here or something. So all of those are places you can then find and contact me and join and be with me there too if there's something wrong in YouTube. And it's important to have that kind of diversification so that you can protect yourself not just from potential SJW totalitarian tactics, but also from the unexpected things that can happen. Like we think YouTube is going to be forever, but you never know. Something weird might happen and YouTube might be shut down, in a month. And so you've got to be prepared for that. The internet is famously unstable. I'm sure my first blog was a Zanga blog, and Zanga was a really big deal once, right? And I'm sure all of you remember MySpace and Napster, any of you who are older anyways, right? And we were like, yeah, that's going to be around forever. No, it wasn't. Facebook looked like it was going to be around forever. And the more we look at it now, the more we're starting to suspect it won't be, because it's got a terrible, terrible aging problem, right? Like now only grandmas go on Facebook. So these things can change. Number 4, if you get attacked, use it. Never ever apologize. Publicize the attack. Expose the garbage ideas behind it. Laugh at them publicly. And this is also business advice, because the last thing you want to do, if you want to never work in the industry again, then when someone attacks you, try to make some kind of an apology or an explanation for yourself, right? And then you will be punished by exile forever. We've seen that over and over again, right? Instead, you have to be as aggressive as possible in exposing the lies, the subterfuge of those who are attacking you. You have to laugh at them and mock them, and you have to call on your fans and fellow creators for support. And if you stand up for free speech, if you're a game designer and you're standing up for free speech, when you need me, I'll be there. I'll stand up for you. Okay? So I think those are like the biggest hints that I can give you, right? I think that that's very important. And that last one is also a business point, by the way, because every time that they've tried to cancel me, that they've tried to ban or blacklist or censor me, or get me thrown out of something, I've taken that last strategy, and every time I've done it, I've come out financially stronger than when I came in. Every time they try to call me out on Twitter, I gain more followers and sell more books. And that's because I'm standing up to them. That would never happen if I was like hiding, or if I was apologizing, or something like that. Apologizing for things I've never done, So that's it. I'm not saying don't ever apologize if you've actually done something wrong. Maybe you want to apologize, but usually when you're being attacked, it's outright lies or nonsense, or they're accusing you of holding the wrong beliefs, which is nothing to, it's not something to apologize for if your beliefs are sincerely held, Now, in conclusion, I'll add one more thing, which is that this is not easy. Remember, I am not saying that you can just follow this simple formula and you will be a successful game designer, right? You will need to make consistent product. It'll have to be good for people to actually play, right? Because you want your fans to be people who actually play. If they're not, you're not going to have long-term success, right? You need to have a schedule and you keep to it. And I would suggest that schedule be one major product a year and several minor products a year, right? Which has kind of been what I found has worked for me. And, it's going to take you a long time, no matter what. The nice thing about modern publishing is the more products you put out, assuming they're of any minimal quality, then the more those products are going to keep working for you, because there isn't a print run anymore. Unless you're Venture Satanis. For some reason, he has a print run. No one else on Earth has a print run anymore. Instead, what you have is the ttrpg or, Amazon or Lulu. Those books are eternal, right? Because they're print on demand. So there's what's called the long tail. People will keep buying those books. And so the more successful books you end up making, the more that money compounds of what you're earning, even from games that you wrote a decade ago. So you want to more than anything, be disciplined. You have to have some talent. You have to have some charisma, but you absolutely have to have discipline to see it through. If you're not doing that, if you're not being regular and consistent in all the things I mentioned that you have to do, you're probably going to fail, So this is pretty much what I would advise you. It looks like it might be a big chungus on the way. I'm going to move this before she knocks it over. Is there a big chungus heading over here? Are you heading over here, big chungus? No? What are you planning on? I don't know. She's over there. She just jumped up on one of the counters. She usually at this point will jump over to the other counter, but I'm not sure. She might have felt nervous about it. Oh no, wait. I think she's about to do it, you guys. There she is. It's a big chungus. All right, big chungus. All right, so anyways, that's basically the advice that I have to give you. There's big chungus, at least the back side of her. And I hope that you take it very seriously, and I hope you don't have an unrealistic expectation. Remember that almost nobody, I think there's a half dozen people that make a living off games, you know. But if you're determined to do it, I think that's the formula to try it. So I guess that's it for today. I've already given you guys the basic blurb about my products. I will say, if you like this video, hit like. If you haven't already, please subscribe. Check out my other videos, especially the ones featuring Big Chungus. So just looking out there at the world. And it's not because she's not allowed out there. The door is open. She could be out there right now. She just seems to prefer watching at it from the safety of the behind bars. Not like Meatball. Meatball's probably out there right now. But Chungus, she just wants to sit here and look in a place where it'll take no, there'll be no effort for her. Anyway, be sure to subscribe, like this video, share it anywhere you think it'll be helpful to people. I'd say anywhere where it would piss people off, but I mean, other than the fact of people being pissed off at my ongoing existence and enormous success, I mean, those people will be pissed off about it, I guess. But other than that, it's not a type of video to piss people off, I think. It's just my honest advice for all of you guys. So I hope that it helps some of you. Hope it gives you all something to think about. Currently smoking. This is a Neerup Poker with Argento Natural.